Hi everybody, I want to give you kind of an overview of how we're going to be preparing for the AP exam this year, and also a little bit about how the AP exam normally works, although I know things will be a little bit different this year because of, the online aspect and the fact that it's going to be much shorter. As you guys probably know, there have been a couple components that have made the calculus program really successful through the years. And this traditionally has been one of the most successful AP classes in the school. Honestly, it's been one of the most successful AP classes in Northern Kentucky for a very long time. The components that have made it successful: number one, we get to every single topic, and usually we do it before the month of April. And that leaves us a lot of time to prep to get ready for the AP exam. That's a really, really important component of things, okay? Getting to everything. But number two, we always have 4 to 6 weeks to get ready for the AP exam, okay? And we've already started. We've been working a little bit with some multiple choice questions, we'll continue to do a lot of work with free response questions, since that's what the exam this year is going to be. But one of the big reasons we've been successful is because we have those 4 or 5 weeks where we can hammer the AP content. And instead of, finishing up 3 or 4 days before the actual AP exam, we're able to go back and we're able to touch on all of those topics from earlier in the year. And more importantly, we're able to see what it's going to look like on the actual AP exam. Okay? So yes, I could have in September done lots and lots and lots of AP questions, and you would have forgotten those by this date, okay? And we would have been farther behind, and we wouldn't have gotten everything, okay? But the nice thing is we've gotten everything. Now we're gonna be able to come back. All of these things are gonna be fresh in your mind, and the AP content and the way it's set up is also going to be fresh in your mind, okay? The last aspect that's always made us successful, in addition to getting done early, or getting to everything, being able to review for several weeks, has also been that our final exam in the class is an actual AP exam. And so we're prepping for that AP exam just like we're prepping for a final exam in the course. Everybody's taking it seriously. They're really locked in. People are coming in after school. We're doing Saturday sessions. It's a pretty intense process, okay? That last aspect of the final exam being an actual AP exam, I don't know how that's going to work, okay? Obviously if we're back at school before the end of April, we'll probably have a final exam that's an AP exam. Maybe something online, I may have to kind of tweak it, but that's a component we're going to have to continue to work with. But those other 2 components are there, okay? We've got time to get ready for the exam. We've hit everything. Let's talk a little bit about the scoring on the typical AP exam, okay? The AP exam normally it's actually 45 multiple choice questions that are worth 1.2 points each, if you care. Long story short, 54 points for multiple choice, okay? 2/3 of those questions are non-calculator, 1/3 are with a calculator, okay? The other part of the exam is 54 points of free response questions, okay? There are 6 free response questions on a normal AP exam. Each of them is 9 points, okay? 9 times 6 is 54. 54 plus 54 is 108, okay? By the way, out of these 6 free response questions, it's the same thing. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. 2/3 of the questions are no calculator. 1/3 of the questions are with a calculator. Again, a lot of those non-calculator questions, you literally couldn't find a way to use a calculator even if you were allowed to use one. It often really shouldn't make that much of a difference. Anyway, here's the thing that I think often surprises people, and again, if you've taken a lot of AP classes, you probably know this from other courses, but the AP exam is really hard, okay? You're not going to get 100% on the AP exam. And that may be different. We've talked before about the fact there are some pretty easy semester-long AP courses that you've been able to stretch over a full year. This is actually really a full 2-semester AP exam, and so there's a lot of content and it's difficult stuff. This is not a class where you can just kind of sit in the back of the classroom and get it. But at the same time, the scoring also takes that into account. Okay, 108 points total. Typically, if you're somewhere in the mid-40s, you're going to get a passing score, okay? 43, could be 44, could be 45, depends on how tough the exam is, and they do a lot of statistical things to kind of balance that out. That's only 38, 39%, 40% of the points on the exam, and you have a passing score, okay? Now, you don't want a 3 on the AP exam, okay? If you make a 3 on AP Calculus, you're gonna really, really struggle in future college calculus courses. And in fact, I would not encourage you to go on to Calc 2 in college if you make a 3. So we're really looking at making 4s and 5s. That's what everybody should be shooting for, because that's where you're really mastering the material. okay? If you notice, it's not a big jump in points, about 56 points, which is just a little bit over half, will get you into the 4 category, okay? Anyway, if you notice, that's only a dozen or so points higher than what it takes to get a 3. And for years and years and years, we've had a lot of people who kind of come in testing at maybe a 2, and in that last 3 or 4 weeks where we're just pounding AP stuff, it's really easy to move yourself up from a 1 to a 3, or for most people, a 2 to a 4, okay? I know a lot of your AP classes, whatever score you make today is probably the score you make on the AP exam. That's not how it works in our class, okay? We make enormous strides in that period where we're doing the prep to get ready for the AP exam, okay? A 5 is about 68 points out of 108, which is a little bit over 60%. Okay, so if you're getting 2/3 of the questions, you're probably a lock to get a 5. If you're getting around half the questions, you're probably going to make a 4. If you're getting around 40% of the questions, you're probably going to make a 3. Okay, that's the perspective you have to think about when you start looking at questions and going, oh my gosh, these don't look like what's in a textbook, because they don't. Okay, however, one of the things that's really important as we start going through free response questions is that you're going to see, after you've done several free response questions on the same topic, you're going to see, even though the scenarios look very different, they're asking you a lot of the same things every time. And after you've done 3 or 4 examples of each of the types of free response questions, you can almost go into that type of question knowing, they're going to ask me one of these 5 or 6 things, and you can go into that question looking for how you can apply those things within the questions. Okay, so again, if you flip through some of the free response questions I gave you, right now you're probably looking at that just like, oh my gosh. And I think I've told the class before, I obviously was pretty good at calculus, and in my AP calculus class, we got done with the book around April 1st, and when the teacher, who happened to be my dad, handed out the first set of practice AP exam stuff, I was looking through the questions, and there was almost nothing that I could do, okay? And by the time I went to the actual AP exam, basically there wasn't anything that I couldn't do. So we're going to grow enormously in this time period, and you just kind of have to stick with it, and it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I think you're going to feel better about this experience than almost any other AP experience you've had. We can get really, really strong as we continue to pound this stuff over the next couple of weeks. So anyway, the point I want to make here is we're going to be focusing on free response. A 9-point free response question. If you're getting 4 out of 9 points, you're probably already getting yourself into that 3 range. If you're getting 5 out of 9 points, you're probably in that middle 4 range. And if you're getting 6 out of 9 points, you're probably getting pretty close to a 5 type of range. So, do I want you going into every question saying, I'm just going to try to get half the points and then stop? No. Hopefully you'll have free responses where you can get 7, 8, 9 points, and that'll offset ones where maybe you're not sure and you only get 2 or 3. But in the end, it all usually kind of balances out and it works out pretty well. So that's where we're headed. And I'm going to be picking different topics to review. So it does sound like they're getting rid of the multiple choice part of the AP exam, which is a little strange. I do think there are topics that a lot of times can be reviewed more quickly by going through fast multiple choice questions than trying to go out and go through long free response questions. So I'm going to be putting together a review that kind of takes us back through the book. I will probably mix some multiple choice questions in there so you've got quick examples of the concepts, and then after we kind of have the basics down, we can kind of stretch those out in some free response questions as well. So I'm not going to totally quit doing multiple choice, because again, you never know when those things are going to get worked into a free response somehow. But at the same time, we probably won't spend as much time working on multiple choice strategies, just the concepts in the questions. Okay, so I'll be probably picking specific questions that target things that I do think are more likely to come up in free response questions. So anyway, that's the outlook for the next couple of days. I'm typically going to be posting a video with an example or 2 of some free response questions of a certain category. I'm going to want you to watch that, and again, kind of be able to start to get a feel for what things seem to come up over and over again in those types of free response questions. And then of course I'll have you try a couple, and I'll be giving you feedback every few days on the ones that you give me. So that's where we're headed. Lots and lots of free response questions, and again, I am very confident that with the practice that we have over the next month, we're going to be in great shape for whatever form the AP exam ends up being.